Is it
It's getting
much
better.
sun?
For we can see the sun now, so that helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
It was pretty scary, and I think like lots of people, if you don't really like live in California or are familiar with kind of the environment and everything, it can seem a lot different than it is.
Mhm.
This year has been like a historic year in terms of fires, though, like completely different than every year prior. So,
Mhm.
lots of people are like, oh, well, it happens every year. Why are people freaking out? And it's really not about it happening every year. It's the magnitude that it's happening at. And I think people don't realize that these are fires happening in very remote places where, the fire department can't get to them before they spread to someone's home. So it's
Yeah.
literally like, they're having to navigate these places high altitude, which is why you see the planes flying over,
Yeah.
getting like water from lakes and things like that, because again, these places are just so remote. So it's not like it's down in a cityscape where it's flat, and they can pull up to a fire hydrant and just, hook up the truck. That's not the case. This
Yeah.
these. So it's weird. And on top of all that, you have the smoke. So, these big, huge, massive brush fires are happening, and the smoke is in the air, and then it literally is just like coming down the coast. So, a lot of the
Wow.
smoke that we've had over the past couple of weeks has been from LA area, which LA is huge. LA area fires, but also fires in Northern California, and they're literally just like coming down the coast. So, I think, we're getting back to normal, whatever normal looks like these
What
days.
is that?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just, you just have to be grateful, one, to be in a space where you are at least you have a roof over your head, because the air in
Yeah.
here, we can kind of control the air quality in our own home. But I think about the unhoused, people
Yeah.
who are displaced, people who don't have
Yeah.
anywhere to go, who are living outside, who are living without roofs on their heads. It just makes you grateful that despite things being crazy, that you have somewhere to be and someplace to call home. So, if nothing else, I think it has really humbled, us in this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even imagine. I can't even wrap my mind around it when I see people like on Snap or their Instagram videos, and it's like just well, it was so just like muggy and
Yeah.
foggy, and it was like the cars like covered, right? And can't even imagine. Can't
Yeah,
imagine.
we were telling a friend who lives in DC. He was asking us like, well, how is it? What's going on? And we were like, well, it's to the point where the smoke at some days the smoke is so thick that you can't even see the sun. And we know how bright the sun is, right? But
Yeah.
it's so thick that you either can't see the sun, or when you can see it, it looks like a tiny red dot, and you can like look straight into it. So that shows you like how thick the smoke is.
Yeah.
Um, and then that just it throws off so much else and so many other things in the environment, which is a whole other sustainability story. But yeah, it's just pray for California, because we also had an earthquake about 2 weeks ago now. And that's
Yeah.
just, it's like, okay, Lord, if you don't want us here, just say that. Because
Just say it. Just that's
yeah,
funny. 'Cause
just just say it so we can make other plans. But yeah, we're good though. I don't want to complain, because I still very much enjoy living here, being here, and am
yeah.
grateful to have it. So
Yeah.
yeah, girl,
All right. You ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
You want to open up
Um,
for us, Mister?
sure, I will. Hi, if you're joining us, I'll just go ahead and break the ice. This is appropriately coined our thank you episode, because this is our last, what we think will be our last virtual Bible study in this capacity. Tori and I have spent the last, how many months now, Tori?
Four,
Four,
5
four,
months.
4 or 5 months. I think we started around May, hosting these every week. We've only missed 2 weeks, so that's like, man, it's kind of crazy. But we just wanted to say thank you, first of all, to every person who's encouraged us, who popped on, whether you stay for the whole episode or you stay for 5 minutes. We appreciate you. We appreciate you sharing. Just your support has meant the world. And we know a lot of it has come from our home team, which we love and adore. If you live in Waynesboro, Burke County, Midville, the CSRA, we love y'all. Thank you for holding us down. Thank you for encouraging us and praying for us, because as Tori and I were discussing just a few minutes ago, you know, lots of people do this kind of thing for many different reasons. We have not chosen to do this for fame or for fortune. In fact, it just kind of birthed out of our Faith First community, which you all probably know by now. We lead and co-lead. And so we're just really grateful and wanted to come on and just share a little bit about what we've enjoyed, what we've done over the past 5 months. And hopefully you guys will kind of chime in and say what you've enjoyed as well. Tori?
Oh yeah. Yes, and amen to everything Michelle just said. Like, this has been an surprising journey. Like, not expected at all. When 2020, not about 2020, I had no idea, right, that I'd be a part of a virtual Bible study. But it has been, I was telling Michelle this before we started, it has been like such a lifeline, a lifesaver for me. And I was getting kind of emotional because I was just like, Lord, like, so many days where I just felt like giving up, right? But this has helped to keep me going. So I am just grateful for the experience. I mean, like Michelle said, you know, we didn't do this to be famous, for people to know who we are. I mean, but it's such a blessing to know, like, we've ended up in places as far as like South Africa, right? And so when I saw that, I was like, you know, I want to go there one day. But for now, you know, that's pretty cool, to be able to speak to people and they be able to connect with what we're saying over here in Georgia, you over in California. And so, like, it has been, like I said, an unexpected blessing is what it's been. An unexpected blessing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, I remember when we first talked about like doing it, and I was like, but how? And then you were like, well, we can do it on Facebook. And then, you know, Pastor Nakia, our fan club president, you know, he told us about StreamYard, and I'm just like, it's just like every single thing from that day when we started, what started as an idea has come to fruition because God has provided us the resources, the gifts, the people, the talents to do this. And it's just so, honestly, now I'm getting emotional, Tori. Wow. It's just so great to see how God works, you know, when you have an idea. And yes, and the way that he just puts people in place to help you and support you. And, you know, both of us share this thought that, you know, for us, this is so much bigger than even a Bible study, which is why we kind of struggled to even figure out what to call it. You know, many days this has been a lifeline for us, and we're just grateful. I'm grateful just to be able to share this with you, Tori, to have this time and to really be able to really be able to just kind of share our thoughts and our gifts, right? In ministry, and in a way that doesn't put us on a platform, that doesn't, you know, make us pastors, but literally just two believers sitting here having discussions, right? And I think that we don't do enough of that in our community. And I think that we have hopefully shown a side of the church that will make people want to reimagine what church can look like, reimagine what faith can look like, lived and expressed out loud, knowing and believing that, you know, what the Spirit is telling them is what they can feel wholeheartedly, and not questioning your gifts because you don't necessarily have the seminary background, or you don't, you know, you might not know the prayers. What's my favorite thing, right? I'm terrible at memorizing scripture, but I still know it and I still read it. And so I just hope, you know, that whoever stumbles across this or any of our past studies will just be encouraged by that.
Yeah, I think what you said is kind of like the overall theme of what this has been, showing us how God orders our steps, right?
Yeah,
How you don't have to know what's coming next, but if you
just go.
trust Him and you're obedient, just go, right? That He'll make a way. He'll give you the platform you need. He'll whatever you need. He will do it.
Yes.
And for me, just looking forward in my other things that I want to do is like, okay, if I just make the first step, right? The God is going to come through and He's going to order the next and the next and the next. And like you said, a lot of times we doubt ourselves because we want to have it all figured out. And
Mm-hmm.
what this is, I feel like has shown us and hopefully has shown others, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
You don't. I don't know if we did a message or a study on just go. I think we did.
I feel
Just
like we
go,
did.
right? Yeah, just go. And
Yeah.
so like this has just been a constant reminder of how God is faithful and how He gives you grace, right? Each day, because from one week to the next, had no idea sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I got when we were in quarantine full time, right? It was okay. I can do this. I can do this. And then when work started back for me, it was like, oh, this is like okay, right? But God gives us the grace if we're obedient and we're willing. He gives us the grace, and the way it blesses me, the way it has fed me, Michelle.
Same. Yeah.
Um, I can't even accurately put into words, right? Without like getting like overly emotional because you know, I can't.
Yeah.
But I hope those who watched saw, because even if you go back, I was looking at when I video, one we did with Nakia was like the first one I seen on YouTube, first one I saw,
Mm-hmm.
and then just how we've grown, and and if you be consistent and you keep at it, right, you'll
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
And like God honors consistency, He honors obedience, He honors
Yeah.
faithfulness. And this has just been a sign of all of that. And so like I hope people who see this, who will go back and watch it, will see like, wow, like look at what God can do when I'm obedient. Look at what God can do when I'm consistent and I'm faithful. And when I do it even when I don't feel like it,
Yes.
what can come from it?
Yes. I think too, the other thing that, we can point out is that, not every week has been perfect. Like we've had tech issues. We had tech issues from the very beginning. My internet's bad. We live on two different coasts. Like we
Yeah.
are on two different time zones, two different parts of the country. And so I just, like you said, I just hope that people are encouraged to just go. Like if you have something that you know that God has placed in your heart, don't sit on it expecting it all to just be presented to you in a happy bow. You're going to have to do it. And it's going to be rough sometimes. And it's going to look like, oh God, am I really doing this? But yes, you are doing this. I feel like we have done something for ourselves that has shown us that we can pretty much do anything, if we set our minds to it. Because y'all know Christians are critical, and they can be a very hard crowd to please. And so it's blessed me that not necessarily the comments or the encouragement, but that people have expressed to us how much they've learned or how much they felt encouraged or how much they felt blessed from just us. And like I said, it's two people who will openly tell you we are not experts, right? We have not been to seminary. We we are still learning and coming into our own in the faith as well. So again, just go, just do it, whether you think it's perfect or not, whether your plan is all the way there or not. Just trust that God will fill in the gaps. If He gave it to you, He's going to give you the rest.
Yeah. Something you've been drilling in my head these last couple months, that God is a gap filler,
Yeah.
right? He's a gap filler. And no matter, like you said, if you feel qualified, I don't have all the tools I need, God is a gap filler. In fact, that makes the best testimonies, the best
Yeah.
stories. Like you don't have to have it all. You don't like you said, when we started, like we had no idea what was gonna do next when that first Facebook live failed. You had to do it by
Yes.
yourself. You had no idea. And I think we mentioned this before, that sometimes when you're walking in faith, those first couple steps will look like failure,
Yes.
right? And there are times where, you started off, it may just have been two of us sometimes on there, right? And there are times where there was 20, 30, 40. But no
Mhm.
matter what it looks like, right? You can't go off your feelings, you can't go off numbers, right?
Right.
You got to go off what God has placed in your heart to do. And
Yes.
to just to be faithful and consistent to that, not to the numbers, not to the comments, not
Yes.
to any of that. Because in all honesty, right, if we really did this and it only touched one person, if it was just to save one person's life, to somebody else they may go, oh, that's a failure. But
Yeah.
if we save a life, that
Listen.
is more than
Listen.
100 likes. That is more than 100 comments. That is
Any
more
day.
than anything. If what we said has brought somebody back to the fold, back to the faith, or has opened somebody's eyes, like you said, to say, okay, well, okay, I can go and I could try to read and understand this, that encourage them to study the word, then that is enough.
Yes, it is.
So I think sometimes, and I know we said this before, we have to stop judging ourselves off the world's scale of what success is,
Yes.
right? And really just put your eyes and focus on, okay, God, you called me to do this. I'm gonna do it. And
Hmm.
and he will bless it every time. Now you
Every
can't look
time.
at him and be like, well, you don't like just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and he'll bless it. And we talk about this all the time, Michelle. Like comparison is the thief of joy.
Girl, it is.
Just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it'll work.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, there's this Pastor Travis Green quote that I absolutely love and adore, and I butcher it every time. But to paraphrase, he essentially says God has blessed you to do it differently. And so whenever I hear somebody talking about comparison and or looking at the way you do it, so then I'm gonna do it that way too, it goes back to God breaking the system, right? Thinking
Yeah.
about how God has given us all a unique path, and we really have to honor that path and not feel like we have to do it the way so and so over here did it, or the way pastor whatever did it. God has anointed you to do it the way that he wants you to do it, so that it is
Yeah.
your testimony alone, not so you can share the spotlight with somebody else. And so I would just encourage anyone who's looking to really go out there and do whatever that God has called you to do. Don't feel like you got to do it like Tori and I. Don't feel like it needs to be the same setup. Don't feel like you have to do it like anybody else who's doing it. Do it the way it should be done, and the way God has called you to do it. Even if it looks weird, even if it feels weird. We didn't know what to expect when we started doing this. We were like, okay, so we're just gonna go on Facebook and we're gonna, start talking and then see what happens. And then it just like week by week, we started getting better and better, and we started getting sharper and sharper. And as much as we feel like this is an ending to this chapter, it's really just a beginning to something else. And our hope is that we are able to come back to you in a different way, in a better platform. But we're not going away forever. This is just us coming back to the table with God to say, Lord, what's next for us? And so I just want people to know and understand that, seasons come and seasons go, and they change. And in this season, we are taking a moment to, again, go back to God and say, Lord, what do you have next for us? Because we know that the assignment is still on us, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a different shape.
No, yeah. And it kind of goes to something you sent me, you DM me on Instagram, kind of correlates, right, about changing and, and it's tough, right? And like, even now, it's like, when next Wednesday come, I'm going to be like, I'm supposed to be doing virtual Bible study, right? But knowing and trusting that God has something greater, right?
Yeah.
And that this is just a part to show us what he can do.
Yeah.
And again, to apply it to your life, no matter, what you're doing, like, when one door closes, when one chapter ends, like, I think it's okay to look back and, shed tears and all those things, but hopeful knowing that that was just a small portion of like of God showing you like a glimpse of this is what I can do, right?
Yes.
If you trust me and you're faithful and, just being willing to go with his will over yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Putting your confidence in him and not in yourself. And like you said, something I want to add when you were saying about not doing it the way we do it is not always even feeling like you can't do it because somebody's already doing something, right? But sometimes we'll look at something, we'll go, well, I can't do it because somebody's
Yeah,
already doing that. If you go in the store and go down the bread aisle, it's a bunch of
girl.
different types of bread, right? And they all getting bought.
Yes.
So for anybody who's watching this, and I think for us as well, Michelle, right, to never look at something and go, I can't do it because somebody's already doing that. That field is already taken. No, like if God is calling you to it, I don't care if it's 100 people in it. You jump
Yes.
in and you join.
Yes.
So just to be confident in Him, right? To just trust Him, put your faith first. Get it out of yourself, put it in
Mhm.
God,
Yeah.
and the things He can do when you allow Him to close a door, that next door, I mean, it's going to be even better.
Yeah, I agree. Wow. Okay, so real quick, what what was your favorite thing about this?
Um, my favorite thing, honestly, was being able to get on and to do it with you, right? In a sense of doing it with somebody who I was like, okay, if I stumble, I fall, I'm gonna be okay. You're gonna catch me, like, get back up, right? Because you can't do this with anybody,
Yeah.
um, and it has to be done with somebody who you have love for and they love you, and there's a whole different kind of understanding of knowing, okay, like you said, we didn't go to school for this. Like I may
Yeah.
trip over this. I talk a lot, but I also stutter, right? But so it's just like just being comfortable and all those things with you. It has been by far my favorite part of this. And I had no idea, right, that when I reached out to you on last year, that our relationship would have grown to this.
Yeah.
No idea. And so just the fact that God has connected me to you in this time has been by far my most favorite thing.
Wow. Tori, oh my gosh. Man, I definitely think that I share the same sentiment in that my favorite thing has 100% been doing this with you, but it's also because, like, there are some people who get up on stages and they have platforms, and you can tell pretty early on that it's not genuine. But
Hmm.
with you, everything you do is genuine, and that is so refreshing for me. It's like I gravitate towards you because you're so genuine and you're so committed and confident about it. Even in the times where you might not necessarily be feeling confident, your confidence is just there. Oh my gosh.
He's waving at the camera. He's waving kind of low. Wave it, wave
Hey. So I'm just grateful. Like I said, this has truly been a lifeline for me. This summer, this year has really put me in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm just really grateful to have a fighting partner like you.
Yeah,
That's the way I feel about it. I know that I'm not the only one out here praying for me, but I know you are, and likewise,
yeah,
right? That we are
yeah.
truly in this together. And so, I also hope people see that they don't have to do it alone. That there are
Absolutely.
people who are like-minded, who are like in the faith, who are still growing and learning and transparent and vulnerable, who you can do this kind of work with. You don't feel like you are alone, and don't feel like you have to do it alone. God will send you the people and the resources and the reinforcements you need to get what you're trying to get done.
Yeah. What do you think was the hardest part for you?
Oh man, by far the hardest part was convincing myself that I knew enough, or that I was qualified to do it. And looking back on it, I'm like, girl, you was tripping. Don't nobody certify Sunday school teachers.
Listen, you a whole teacher out here. Like I'm telling you, like I owe you so much money in back pay from Cash App. Like the great context you would give, like a phenomenal. Like I'm not gassing you up. This is for real. You are a phenomenal teacher, and I mean anybody would be listen, I would love to have had you as my Sunday school teacher. Like the way you're able to break down the word and everything. Like, again, no gas, all realness. Like, I
Well,
have no
thank
idea why you were doubting yourself. And a phenomenal writer. Oh,
girl.
amazing writer. If
Okay.
I could just get a third of your writing ability, I'd have had 2-3 books out by now.
So the funny thing about it is that you bring up writing, and I know that that's something that God is calling me to do more of. So I'm also grateful for that. That like this has really challenged me to write more. But I am wordy, and so one of my critiques on myself is that I feel like sometimes when I'm writing, I'm so passionate. So I'm like, ooh, add 3 more paragraphs, and it's like, girl, brevity. So I'm trying to, I'm just trying to. I appreciate those compliments, and I'm going to thank you for them and accept them, because I also have a problem with accepting compliments.
About that.
But I think that, this again has really given me the confidence to do some things that I felt like I wasn't good enough to do, or I wasn't quite there yet, or I wasn't qualified. And so, we talk about just go and just do. That is the literal testimony of this experience, is that we just went, we just did.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. Just a second. Wait. I have no idea. When we started, I was like, I don't know enough about the Bible to be on here trying to tell nobody anything.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes, like, and I tell them, I struggle with this, like, as far as like discipline, right? Which is why I start working out and I stop. I start and I stop. But initially, like, just being disciplined enough to do it, but getting to a place where it's like, okay, it becomes a habit, right? This is what I have to do. And so I think for me, it was just balancing everything on, and making sure that, everything was in the right perspective, and realizing that I was not even low key. I was really putting God on the back burner. Like, when you make up your mind to do something, when you make up your mind to get into your word and all the other stuff, like, you can do it if that's what you really want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we serve a God that does not force us.
Right.
We talked about that, but he's a gentleman. He doesn't force us into stuff most of the time, right? He gives us the opportunity to make choices and on your own free will. But just really, for me, it was just realizing, like, girl, you are the one holding you back. Ain't nobody holding you back. It's you. And so for me, it was like a hard slap in the face. Like, all right, everything I don't have, it ain't because I can't have it. It's not because God don't want me to have it. It's I just ain't doing my part.
Girl. Yeah, this has really shown me how like you said, how I've kept myself out of things, and how if you just do it, God will just fill in the rest. Like, just go do it. If he's called you to it, go do it. Period. The end. That's all. He got the rest of it. You don't have to do you don't have to do anything else but just do what he said. And from there, he will put into place, like I said, the resources, the people, every single thing you need. And, my comment about feeling qualified, I think that, for lots of people, we've been made to feel disqualified because we don't maybe have the credentials. But then you think about, well, what do credentials mean in the faith realm, right? Like, what do your credentials mean to God? Nothing. Moses was stuttering, yet he had him out there speaking to kings. Joseph was a slave boy, but yet he was interpreting dreams. So it's like, you really got to start thinking about and applying the study of the word and the stories of the word to your own life, because those stories, yes, they were history and they have that historical context, but ultimately the only way that the word is going to bless you is if you use it in your life to apply it to your situation. So
Preach.
go and find those stories that speak to your situation and use them as as muscle to really truly pull yourself up and go out and do what God has called you to do. Because honestly, every single person, with the exception of Jesus, who was called to do something in the Bible, they were unqualified for it. Yet somehow God still used them. So if nothing else, if you get nothing out of all that we've talked about or done over the last 5 months, I want you to get that you have got to stop disqualifying yourself. It's not about anybody else. It's not about anybody else's opinion. You don't need anybody to vouch for you if God vouches for you. End of.
Oh, say that again. Say that again. Say
You
that
don't
again.
need anybody else to vouch for you if God vouches for you. End of story.
Nobody. You don't need no cosigner, no nothing. You don't need it.
No, you don't. So friends, Tori and I haven't made a decision yet on what the next season of this will look like, but we have some things in mind, and so we plan to get to work. But we hope that you have been blessed by this. We hope that you have enjoyed it, that you will continue to go back and watch those YouTube videos, watch those Facebook videos, get some encouragement from them, and it really truly go into this next season of your life declaring the will of God in your life, knowing and trusting and believing that God is going to do something fresh, that he's going to do something new, and that he's going to restore everything that you feel like you may have lost in this season of COVID-19 or pandemic or recession or whatever. We've all collectively experienced a lot, but I'm believing and trusting and hoping that God is going to bless his people, those people who have held on throughout this season, and he's going to give us everything that we feel like we lost. So hold on to your faith, put your faith first, and remember that we love you. We are still praying for you, whether you see us on Facebook or not. And yeah, Tori.
Yeah. No, like you said, like, even though you don't see us, right? Like, not even to get that deep, but a lot of times we don't hear or feel like we can see God, right? Or hear his voice, right? But it's still there. So even though you don't see us, doesn't mean we're not praying for you. We love you guys, and we're always here. DM us if you have any questions.
Yes.
I don't know. I will pass it on to the real expert, Michelle.
Girl.
She's the real expert here. But definitely thank you all for the love and support and your prayers that you've given us.
Yes.
And I'm just so incredibly grateful that you guys would take the time, like you said, Michelle, in the beginning, to spend minutes or the entire hour, sometimes over an hour, with us as we go back and forth, right? Trying to break down the word of God and trying to explain to the best of our own ability. So I'm grateful. I'm thankful. Thank you guys so much just for giving us the opportunity. So thank you again, Michelle, just for agreeing to do this with me. It means so much. And this has been a beautiful part of the chapter in my life. So thank you.
Yay. Same, my dear. Like we said, it's truly been a lifeline. I think that 2020 would look much differently if it had not been for this faith first community and being able to do this together. So I'm just happy that we've been able to do it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, my love.
All right.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Until next time.
Thank y'all. Good night.
Good night.